Golds or silvers? The cashier asks me as I search through my wallet. How much are the golds? $12.38. Let's go with the silvers. The guy scans it and looks up at me. ID? I chuckle a little, not in the way you do when you hear something funny, but the little abdominal contraction accompanied by a slight grunt. Oh, really? Yeah, it's the machine. Sure, here. He scans the ID without even looking at it. Then the machine makes a little noise. He looks down at it. Sorry, man, it won't let me use an expired one. Come on, I come here all the time. He looks over his shoulder, then takes out his own ID and scans it. I got you this time. Appreciate it. As I'm walking away, I see a big old homeless woman posted by the front door just outside the cashier's eye shot. Do you have a quarter? She asks. I check my pockets for a second, look back up at her. No, I don't have any cash, sorry. Walking away, I hear her proposition another patron. Sorry, do you have a quarter? I'm just trying to get some food. I'm a block down the road when I think to myself, man, I'd sure appreciate it if I was in that situation. So I turned around and headed back to the parking lot. Hey, if you want, you can get a few things in there and I'll cover it for you. Thanks, she says. Her demeanor relaxes to what I imagine is a more genuine reflection of her internal state, now that the verbal contract has been established. The clerk is helping another customer when I walk in. I just purse my lips slightly and give a little nod. When the woman enters behind me and starts examining the objects on the shelf, he nods his head up a little in resolution before returning to the customer. I pretend to read the cover of a gossip magazine while he rings up the junk food and beer. $14.22. I swipe my card again and he hands me the receipt. Have a good one, he says, a little annoyed that I reinforced her strategy. My walk home is only about 15 minutes, during which I watch the sunset and think about what to do tomorrow. I guess I could donate plasma, put that money on the Aggies. But that's only like $20. Doesn't really feel worth it anymore. I should try that other plasma company and get the newcomer bonuses. When I get home, the first thing I do is boot up Netflix on the TV. Guess I'll watch Super Deluxe again. While my leftover pork chop is heating up in the microwave, I sit down and look up the new plasma place to see what the newcomer bonus is. As the results pull up, I see an ad for a clinical trial. $800 to take part in a study for a new neurological stimulation device. It says it's non-invasive, safe, and has been reported as having effective antidepressant results as soon as the first treatment. Huh. It's probably just some sensory deprivation tank filled with apple juice or something, I think. Then I see the company name, Lymond. They're known for manufacturing the sensors used in paralytic implants. Maybe there's something to this. I click the sign up button and am brought to a document where I fill in the info. Then a 13-page document waiving my right to sue for excessive time, whatever that means. It's a 15-minute nap. I guess these companies have to use their lawyers for something, so they're just super thorough. When I sign, the screen does that little thing where confetti pops up. Whoopee. Then it gives me an appointment time, Sunday, February 23rd, 10:30 a.m. That's different, I thought. I've never had an appointment for anything that wasn't a multiple of 5. Well, I better not stay up too late. When I show up to the address on the booking, I find myself at an unassuming old building in the medical district. One of those ones from the 90s is just a 3-story rectangle with alternating vertical stripes of concrete and windows. The only signs that anyone works there was the half-full parking lot and the Euro truck serving some kid in a blue button-up. Walking in, I was put at ease by the middle-aged security guard playing Clash of Clans behind the counter. Hi, do you know what floor Lymond is on? I say, approaching. What? His face confused. I'm here for the trial. Oh, I think you want Calypso in 203. Thanks. Now my face looks a little confused. Getting out of the second floor, all I hear is the faint hum of incandescent bulbs. 208, 209. Wait, I must be walking the wrong way. When I reach 203, I knock on the wooden door. Nothing for a few seconds. Then a small young woman opens the door. Here for the trial? She asks with a cheery smile. Yeah, for Lymond, though, pointing at the Calypso hoodie logo on her hoodie. Oh yeah, we're a subsidiary. We just advertised under their name to get more applicants. Alright, just making sure this is legit. Don't worry, I've done it myself. So far we have a 100% satisfaction rate. Come on in, she says, still smiling. So, what do y'all do here? I ask as she leads me past a group of 20 somethings chatting in a beanbag circle. We're sort of the R&D for a new kind of, well, we're not really sure what the best application is for it yet. But what it does is isolate and enhance the synapses in your brain responsible for humor and inhibit those associated with conscientiousness. We think it could help with things like PTSD and depression, but we still have some data to collect before presenting it to the FDA. Oh, that's cool. She leads me into another room with just a table, two opposing chairs, and a stack of papers. Take a seat. This part's kind of long, but we just need to establish your baseline personality across 267 markers. Okay, at this point, I was considering leaving, but she was kind of hot and I didn't have anything better to do. What do you think about your neighbors on a scale of 1 to 10? 10 being great. Like a 6. And your friends? Probably an 8. This went on for about 45 minutes. She then handed me the bottom page to sign. Okay, that's that. Do you have to use the bathroom or anything before the trial? I could use a smoke. Okay, mind if I come with you? I could use some fresh air. Yeah, sure. On the way outside, she started inquiring my personal life. Are you a student? No. How come? Money. Well, that hardly stops anyone these days. I don't really want much. I have a decent job, respect for my colleagues, enough for cigarettes, and a little left over to put on the Aggies. I guess someday I'll probably look back and wish I'd done more, but who doesn't? Fair enough. As I'm lighting up a cigarette, she rips a dab pen discreetly. And here I was thinking you were a professional, I say jokingly. Yeah, I guess my hoodie and Converse are kind of misleading. At least I know I'm in good hands, gesturing for her to let me hit it. How about afterwards, she says with this little side eye. Don't want it to interfere with the readings. At this point, I realize she's definitely flirting with me. I bet we'll both be pretty hungry by then. I can get us some food. Sounds like a fair trade. We walk back up through the bean bags and screening room to a smaller room with what appeared to be the illegitimate love child of an MRI machine and a sensory deprivation chamber. She must have sensed my disease in the doorway because she said, "Don't worry, most of the bulk is just sensory equipment." If you say so, I give an intentionally nervous chuckle. Should I change? I ask, gesturing the shallow pool of liquid I'll presumably be getting into. No, it's not like other liquids. She dips her hand into it and presents it for me to feel. It'll only adhere to itself. Her hand felt as dry as it looked. Trippy. Empty your pockets into this bin and lie down. Okay. Now, it's only 15 minutes, but for some people, they report it being longer or shorter. Mine felt like an hour, if you could believe it. If you want out at any time, just knock the cover and I'll open it right up. She then clicked some keys and the sound of servo motors buzzing was the last thing I heard as the mechanical doors sealed shut. It was pitch black in there. For all I could tell, I was the only thing in the universe. It was then that I felt my cigarette still in my pocket. Damn. I reached my hand up to try and knock, but I couldn't feel the top. What the hell? It was just a foot and a half above my face. I tried calling out, "Hey Jules, I forgot to put something in the bin. Can you open up before we start?" No reply. Not even a reverb like you'd expect to hear inside a sealed chamber. I tried to find the side wall, but my hand met nothing. At this point, I rolled over on my stomach and started to stand up, expecting to bonk my head on the top, indicating it's there. Panic set in when I was fully standing, the liquid reaching just past my shins. Am I dead? I thought. No, why would heaven or hell look exactly like the chamber? Something strange then occurred to me. I can see my own body clear as day, but there's no light source. Just miraculous visual perception, and I still had my watch on me, ticking away. 11:33, so I'll just wait here till 11:48. I spent the next 15 minutes thinking about what to get for lunch afterward. I was in a bit of a taco mood, or shawarma, anything with well-seasoned meat, really. And when the time came, I lay back down, expecting that at any second, the doors would open and Jules would explain that I was lying down the whole time, just hallucinating. But 11:55, 12:30, 2:45 passed by. As I got anxious and stood up again, I started yelling at the top of my lungs, "Hey, help!" Nothing but silence. The void wouldn't even return my own words. Around 5 p.m., I left my original position and started walking. I checked every so often, 6, 7, 8. I'd been walking for 3 hours, nothing aside from my watch to mark my progress, an indistinguishable void as far as the eye couldn't see. It's been 9 days since I entered the chamber. I feel no hunger nor fatigue. To give you a brief recap of this time, I spent the first few days wandering the barren scape, futilely looking for any sort of anomaly or distinction in any part of it. On day 5, I started trying to logically find my way out. Assuming this isn't base reality, maybe there's some way I can snap myself out of it, like a lucid dream. So I focused all my will and conviction at the idea that I'm just dreaming and will now wake up. Nothing. So I tried shocking myself with pain. Stomping my pinky finger with my heel yielded a sensation I would guess to be identical to the real thing. And it might be, because I'm still feeling the pain and it hasn't healed yet. By day 7, I accepted that I might not ever get out of here and cried. All the people I would never see again. Today is day 9 and everything has finally changed. I first noticed it when I was walking, dredging through the liquid medium. It felt as though I was snagging spider webs adrift in the wind, but I couldn't see or feel anything when trying to grab them. Slowly, over the next few days, the mass got thicker and thicker until I could just make them out visually. It wasn't webs. They looked like a sort of weak hologram. Rocks, trees, rivers. What started as barely perceptible mesh became tangible by the day. By the 12th day, I could make out a sunrise in the emerging world. I woke up on the 16th day, no memory of falling asleep, and on a grassy hill nonetheless. I stood up, shocked and grateful to find myself in a landscape, even if it was an alien one. I dug my fingers into the soil and cried with joy. The sensation of the clay-rich dirt was akin to what I might expect outside the chamber, only in an uncanny way. The closer I brought it to my face, the heavier it would become. Not only that, but it would seem to increase in mass as well. Even after setting it back in the hole it should have been flush with, it protruded out in a mound whose constituent particles retained their now larger stature. This brought my guard back up, if only superficially. I gazed out over the distant hills which the sun was rising and spotted another figure on the distant peak. "Hey!" I shouted at the loosely defined silhouette. "Come over here, or stay there!" Finally, another person, whether friendly, hostile, or entirely alien, I am no longer alone. I looked down at the valley forest between us, which by some trickery of the senses is of indefinable distance, and mentally plot a course toward its location. Okay, so it looks like maybe half a mile, but the course directly next to it seems like a day's walk. Looking back to the first path, it seems to have sunk into the valley without explanation. As I take my first steps down the hill and closer to the tree line, they fail to occupy more space in my visual field, as I would expect. Instead, when I reach them, I find myself a giant among heads of broccoli. When I turn around to look back at the hill I was just standing on, I find it only reaches up to my shoulders. What the hell is this place? The figure on the other hill cocks his head at my disorientation, like I'm some weirdo who stumbled into his house and is confused why he can't walk on the ceiling. He makes a tube with his hand and puts it over his eye in my direction. After noticing my confusion, he waves up in the air and gestures down at his hand, then at me. So reluctantly, I mimic his position and focused on a tuft of grass beside his footing. Is this some kind of ritual or greeting indicating I'm friendly? As I bring my tubed hand down from my eye, what emerges around my focal point is different from before. Still as the tuft I could see, only a closer miniaturized version, seamlessly blended with the grass and rocks the size I would expect them to be. When I look up to my left, I discover myself to have teleported directly beside what I can now verify is a man of around my age and stature. He's just smiling, lending his hand down toward me. I hesitate for a moment, then decisively join his grasp. He helps me to my feet, grabs me by the shoulders, and gives me this unashamed wild laugh, shaking me back and forth. "Where am I?" I ask. This seems to confuse him as he stops and looks down at me bewildered. "Do you speak English?" He just spins his eyes in a figure eight and rests his gaze back on mine. Did he just answer my question? Seeming to grow bored of my string of inquiry, he takes the lead of the interaction by grabbing my hand and placing it over my eyes. "What are you doing?" I remember halfway through he didn't know what I was saying, Instead, try to convey my confusion by cocking an eyebrow and dipping a shoulder. This seems to have gotten through because he pats my back and points off to a spot over the horizon. As I squint to see exactly where he is pointing to, he blocks my gaze with his hand and turns my face back toward his. I point at my chest, then toward the direction he was. He gives me a look of confirmation, so I close my eyes and he grabs me by the shoulder. The ground around my feet is contorting in every which way as the air remains still. After a minute or two, he lets go of me, and the two of us are in the middle of a village. I seem to be disturbing the natural flow of things as people going about their day stop and look at me. They have little to no shyness, walking right up to me to feel the fabric of my clothes. One of the women examines my broken finger and drags me by it into an earthen mound topped by a hatched roof. "Does anyone here speak English?" I asked, as she sits me down on a wicker table. She gives me the same figure-8 eye thing the first guy did, so I just smile and nod at her. After examining the bones in my pinky, she grabs my other hand and placed it around the edge of the table, then made a tight clenching motion for me to mimic. Right as I did, she yanks it back into place, causing me to release a loud yell. When I'm done, her expression melts from startled to furious laughter, and I can't help but join in at the relative triviality of the injury. Just then, my friend pops back in and gestures for me to come with him. He leads me to the edge of the village and into a smaller hut. Inside are a single bed, a couple pairs of leather clothes, some hunting tools, and a fire in the middle. This must be his house. He takes a seat beside the fire, and I do the same. Then he pulls a handful of tiny fish out of the satchel, along with a neatly planed piece of wood. He can tell I look confused and is playing into it at this point, because he just gives me this cocky side eye as if to say, "Watch this." He places one of the fish on the little wooden plane and signals for me to close my eyes. When I open them, he is bringing away from his eye the now record-sized bass fish, along with the appropriately enlarged piece of wood it is sitting on. After the fish is skewered, we place it above the fire to cook. As we are finishing eating, I draw his attention and point toward my chest. "I'm Charlie."